Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wachaya kwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share the space now and walk side by side into the future. This, of course, is the First Peoples Recognition Statement that we now read at the beginning of every formal council meeting. And since this is June, this is Aboriginal Peoples Month, and so you'll see that I've also brought with me the Aboriginal talking stick, which was a gift from our Aboriginal community back in 2011. And it has a very interesting story to it. The deer antler and the hide speak to the responsibility of the entire community to provide, to feed, to clothe, and to shelter the entire community. The two white beads here represent, one of them represents the Kingston community and one of them represents the Aboriginal community. And you can see that they're designed in such a way that they hang parallel, and that speaks of walking side by side as equals. And then there are four colored beads that represent the four races of peoples that live, work, and play in Kingston, and it's repeated 4 times in recognition of the 4 directions that people have come to Kingston. So this is something that is displayed in all of our meetings between the City of Kingston and the Aboriginal community, again as a mark of respect and a mark of the importance of the relationship that we're building together. So we're going to have that on display for the rest of our meeting this evening. So with that, we will formally call to order. Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor Patterson, we have quorum.
Thank you. So we have nothing in committee of the whole closed meeting, so we will move to the approval of the addits. There are 2 sets of addits. On the first, we have a motion of congratulations. We have the addition of an item to report number 71, 2 items for report 71. And then on our second addits, we have a new motion. So can I have a mover, please, for the addits? Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Osanek. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor Candon.
Thank you, and through you, I, Adam Candon of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of report number 73, as I am a licensed realtor. Also, I, Adam Candon of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of report number 71, Clause 4, as my spouse is employed by Home-Based Housing.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we do have a presentation this evening. I'm going to be making some presentations of recognizing some heritage properties in the community. So I'm just going to move over to the podium for a moment. Okay. Of course, the City of Kingston is a wealth of built heritage resources with over 1,400 identified heritage properties, including part of the only World Heritage Site in Ontario and 30 National Historic Sites of Canada. Of those 1,400, 571 are designated individually, and most of these are privately owned, and over 600 properties are included in one of the city's 3 heritage conservation districts. So tonight, we're going to honor 5 properties and their owners, of course, for their contribution to conserving a key part of the city's cultural heritage. So the first property is 662 King Street West, known as the William Muddy Building. Built as the home of Village Reeve and builder William Muddy and wife Isabella around 1850. This building was used as Cohen's Grocer from 1955 until 2013, when it was purchased and renovated by the current owner. So the owner is Pete Sarbright. I'm not sure if he's here tonight, but Greg's. Okay, that's great. So we'll have Mr. Newman to accept on his behalf. So. Okay, so our next property is 85 Sydenham Street, Line Barrack, circa 1813. This house was built as part of a military barracks complex during the War of 1812, as early as 1813, and was then used for a time as a schoolhouse. The current owners have carefully restored the house in 2015. So I'm going to call forward the owners, Gunnar and Pauline Heisler. Our next property is 200 and 202 Bagot Street, known as the LaChance House. This double house was built for local grocer Francis Xavier LaChance around 1882. These two properties were recently added to the city's Heritage Register through the designation of the Old Sydenham Heritage Conservation District in 2015. So first, the owner of 202 Bagot Street, Sharon Isaacs. And now for the property at 200 Bagot Street, Frank and Susan Warnica. Okay, our next property is 166 Bagot Street, the 1880 brick row house. As part of a continuous row of simple workers' houses along this part of Bagot Street, this 1880s brick townhouse reminds us that not everyone who settled in the old Sydenham Heritage District were wealthy, thus providing the community with a better understanding of the history of this area. And again, the owners of 166 Bagot Street, Frank and Susan Warnica, and so again, I'll ask if Mr. Newman can take these for me. Okay, and then finally, we have 104 to 112 Montreal Street, also known as the Wellington Terrace. This 5-unit row house is possibly the oldest stone terrace in the city, built in 1841. Until 1871, most of these units were home to officers of the British Royal Artillery and their families, with the central one being a school. So I will call up the owners of these individual properties. First, 104 Montreal Street, Lynn Warren. Next, at 106 Montreal Street, David Forbes and Terry Dashik. Next, 110 Montreal Street, Ron and Terry Hodges. And finally, 112 Montreal Street, John Barry and Deb Collins. They're not here, so we will hand this off as well. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we do have a couple of delegations on our agenda this evening. Our first delegation is Afraj Gill, VP, BD and Government Affairs for Drop Bike, who will appear before Council to speak to Clause 7 of Report Number 71 received from the CAO with respect to the Community Bike Share and Drop Bike Pilot Agreement. Again, just a reminder to our delegations that you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Councillors, members of the public, on behalf of the entire Drop Bike team, thank you so much for the opportunity to have us here tonight to present to you. My name is Afraj. As Mayor Patterson said, I lead business development and government relations for Drop Bike. Kingston has a very special place in my heart. Spent many years here. I finished my undergraduate degree at the business school over at Queen's University a few years ago. Now I imagine that the agenda for you tonight is packed, so I'll try to keep things as brief as possible. We're basically hoping to cover a couple of things. First, a quick 1-minute video of Drop Bike, and then we'll dive right into the demonstration. So maybe we can just roll the video. So we hope you enjoyed that. That's a recent launch video that we put together. But we'll dive into the actual demonstration of the mobile app, the actual product. Now, there is a drop bike right outside in the hallway. Maybe some of you took a look at it. Feel free to take a look afterward as well. But maybe we can dive right into the demonstration. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. Not sure if that's part of the procedure, but otherwise I'll finish, and then you can ask questions. So we'll dive right into the demonstration. It's basically a pre-recorded video, but I'll verbally walk you through everything. So imagine yourself, you're going to a coffee shop, you're meeting a colleague, you sign up for Drop Bike, you're taken through a series of, how it works, banners. So the first thing you do is you open your smartphone application, your Drop Bike application. You find the nearest Drop Bike, and you click unlock, and you scan the QR code on the bicycle. You then get a combination to the onboard lock on the Drop Bike. You simply insert that combination into the onboard lock, and you click unlock, and you're good to go. That's how you get started on a ride. And you just start riding. Now, once you're done riding, because we don't want people to leave the drop bikes just anywhere, especially in someone's way or on sidewalks, we work with the city to identify, sorry, this is a bit, if you can pause it for a sec, that would be great. Sorry about that. We work with the city to identify things we call havens. And so havens are pre-registered areas in the drop bike application that we work with the city to identify. These are safe parking areas for drop bikes. So an example would be, some bike racks, for example. Now, once you're done riding, you identify the nearest haven. You park your bike next to the haven, you lock it up, you scramble the code. Now you can continue playing the video. You take a picture, and that's it. That's a drop bike experience. You're done riding, and you're good to go to the coffee shop. It might be worth diving into a couple of things really quickly. First, why do we ask you to take a picture? The reason is psychologically that deters misconduct on the drop bike system. Second, we get the location. So now we know the location of the bicycle, the last person to have ridden the bicycle, and the condition of the bicycle. Second, in terms of pricing, we can offer this to riders at just $1 per hour. Now, you might be wondering how we can do that. The reason is because we've removed the most expensive part of a conventional bike share system, which is the physical dock. Because the lock on this bicycle goes around the rear tire, we can have a system that is free from physical docks. Now, finally, it might be worth mentioning a few features of the bicycle, just
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Just to illustrate, how much thought we've put into the hardware. So the bicycle, the drop bikes, have foam-based tires, so they never go flat, so reducing maintenance and increasing reliability. We also meet all the regulatory requirements, of course, in the Ontario Highway Traffic Act, so front and rear reflectors, rear lights, etc. And finally, this is a point worth noting, is all the screws on the drop bike are anti-theft screws, so only drop bike can unscrew something, and all the parts are non-standard, so this deters theft.
Right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council? Yes, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Patterson. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm so glad you're bringing this to Kingston. I've been hoping for this for a very long time, so
Thank you.
I welcome this. So in terms of the features, do you have a light in the front of the bike?
Yes, we do.
You do. And a helmet is an accessory that the passenger or the person would have to bring
That's correct.
with them?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share quickly?
Well, I think with respect to helmets, what we would love to do in the future is have partnerships with maybe local merchants, local bike shops, so we can offer drop bike riders helmets at a discount. I'm not sure if that addressed
In terms of locking the bike, so it locks the
So,
tire?
Councillor Turner,
Oh,
so
sorry.
it's two questions, so I'll have to cut you off
All
there,
right,
sorry.
thanks. Bye.
Councillor Neal.
Yes, thank you very much. Many people have been lobbying for some time for bike share. I guess, and because it's virtually no infrastructure costs and it's a pilot, I'm definitely going to support it. I guess the one issue that I have, and perhaps you can address this if you have future plans for future continuation. Basically, it's the only people that would have access to this service would be people with a smartphone and people with a credit card. There are many people in Kingston who could use that service that have neither of these things. Have you thought of a way to actually allow them to access your service?
I think, so that's a great question, very fair question. I think there are things in this system that allow us to do what we can do. So for example, the GPS tracking capability of this system is what makes it so innovative. The reason we can have a dockless system is because of the smartphone. So it becomes challenging to think about that problem. Now, I'm optimistic that there are interesting solutions that we can deploy to overcome that, and we'll definitely give it some thought. But for now, the GPS tracking capabilities are unfortunately things that we can't let go of. It's just, I think it's in some ways, just the way it has to be for now. But I'm optimistic we'll be able to come up with some creative idea in the future.
And my last question is, I have a little bit of concern, and perhaps you can address this, with the clearly limited number of bikes in the system. I could see many of them ending up in the Queens area, in the core of the city, around City Hall, which does my district very well, but perhaps less often being left in the North End or in suburban areas. How can we ensure that this is a citywide program?
Great question. So for the purposes of the pilot, we've worked with the city to identify havens. So, areas where you can leave, you're allowed to leave a drop bike. And so this is around Queen's University. We have a few around this area as well. Now, in the future, we understand that the city may be doing some form of RFP, and Drop Bike is happy to be a part of that conversation. We would love to see more bikes, yes, I think the idea of having more bicycles, it's something that the purpose of this pilot is to learn. It's to be able to come to the city and show you data and share with you how people are using the system and how is this working and where does it make more sense to add bicycles, for example, or havens, or et cetera. And I'm sure we'll have those types of conversations down the road. But we would love to see more, bicycles, more people riding bicycles. We think it's great for the environment and it's healthy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm very intrigued by this pilot program and plan to support it. Could you just go into a little bit more about the data management side of it, which would be what your company's office would manage? Is there like a central location where you know the location of all the bikes in real time, and can you easily gather data showing usage and patterns and so on, and so it would evolve over time to become more and more efficient and more profitable, I guess?
So, I think to your question, we will be keeping in touch with the city on a weekly basis. We will be sharing data, usage data, how many rides took place last week, where were the bikes left, any interesting insights that we can find, we will be sharing that with the city. And of course, I'm sure the city will have questions about, hey, what about this? What about that? I think this is sort of an opportunity to work together and see if there's interesting things we can do. Does it answer your questions? Okay.
Yes, and I'll just leave you with a comment as you choose locations. We've just opened a new multi-use pathway called the KMP Trail. It starts downtown, and you could, if you could get a location along the trail, it probably be well used. Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, moving on to delegation number 2, Bob Clark, Contracts Manager, Metalcraft Marine, will appear before council to speak to Clause 8 of Report Number 71 from the CAO with respect to Kingston Marina Land Use License and Parking Agreement and Doug Fleur Park.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to start by thanking all of you for your incredible service to the City of Kingston. Certainly appreciate it, and we do really appreciate the time commitment that you people do, and it is amazing. It is, and we're very thankful. I'd also like to thank that city staff worked with Metalcraft very closely in developing this lease or license agreement, as it's called, for our marina operation, and really appreciate various levels of staff all through. And what we're hoping is that you'll vote in favor of this report number in 71 to enable our marina to continue growing and to enable some parking for our patrons in the marina. And I think it's very important to our marina growth and for the City of Kingston and for the number of tourists that we bring to the city. So I hope we have everyone's support, and thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have no briefings tonight. Are there any petitions to present? Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a petition. It's regarding sidewalk, I'll give you the location. The sidewalk is, petition asks for sidewalk along both sides of Weller Avenue West, starting at Trillium Court to Division Street. And it reads, "We, the people below, believe that a sidewalk is needed for the safety and the elimination of barriers for persons with disabilities in the above-mentioned area." And it bears 38 signatures. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other petitions, we will continue. We do have one motion of congratulations, moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Bohm, that the congratulations of Kingston City Council be extended to Robin Church for his 35 years of dedicated work on the Board of Kingston Access Services. Robin held the position of Vice President and President over the years, and his thoughtfulness and good humor were always appreciated. Thank you, Robin, from everyone at KAS and Council. So we will call the vote, please. And that carries. We have no deferred motions, so we will move on to reports. First, report number 71 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Turner, that report number 71 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there are clauses 1 through 12. Would anyone like, well, we do have to separate number 4 for Councillor Candon, and we have to separate number 5 for council appointments. Are there any other separations? Councillor McLaren?
Number 1, please.
Number 1. Okay, yes, Councillor Hutchison.
2 and 8
Number 2
and number 8
and number 8.
and we're not there yet. Never mind. That's it.
Okay, so we will first vote on the balance of the items. So first we have clause number 3, terms of reference Arts Advisory Committee Professional Development Working Group. Clause 6, contract award Kingston East Community Center design. Clause 7, community bike share and drop bike pilot agreement. Clause 9, declare surplus and sell the former public works yard and fire training site, 3891 Kingston Road 15. Clause 10, 2017 final capping limits for commercial, industrial, and multi-residential properties. Clause 11, Ontario Early Years Child and Family Centers extension of agreements. And Clause 12, Clean Water and Wastewater Fund grant agreement. We will call the vote, please. And that carries. Okay, so revisiting the separated clauses, first we have number 1, ranked balloting referendum question, public education and communications strategy. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. And just looking at the report at the preliminary question, it occurred to me as I was reading it that it almost sounds like we're electing councillors at large, because it talks about the mayor, elect mayor and councillors in the city of Kingston. And this is a concern to me. I would prefer that the actual question be very simple in that respect. And so if I may make a suggestion, later on in the package, especially on page 131 of the package, it uses the word district to declare the mayor and district councillors. If we were to add the word district during the final question, it would make it clear that we're not talking about elections at large at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, did you want to make a comment on the process for determining the question?
We'll take that under advisement. There are district councillors, and if adding the word district in there clarifies it, then we'll proceed that way when we bring the bylaw with the question.
Just keep in mind that we will at one point be having a public meeting to approve that question, so we're not going to get into that debate tonight, but certainly the comments can be noted by staff. Councillor Neal?
Just very quickly, I think that should definitely be taken into consideration. I received a phone call today from somebody who was kind of confused about whether we were supporting elections at large or just supporting ranked balloting in district elections. So
I think
that would be great.
The comments have been noted. Thank you. So we will call the vote on clause 1. And that carries. Clause 2, Boy Scouts land lease extension, 245 Elmwood Drive. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. Quick question. It says in here, this is about a long-standing, looks like over 60 years. agreement with the city and the Boy Scouts. It says here the Boy Scouts will continue to be responsible for all costs related to the building and will be responsible for its removal at the end of the agreement. Are we expecting the Boy Scouts to move out at the end of the agreement? I wasn't quite sure what we were asking for there. Or if anything, maybe it's just a way of expressing the way the writer has expressed themselves.
Mr. Hugenboss?
Yeah, thank you, through you. No, but at the way the lease is worded right now is that is their obligation. It doesn't mean the relationship has to end after 5 years, but it is flexible in case the Boy Scouts need to leave at the end of 5 years or earlier, they can leave. If council wishes to renew after 5 years, council has the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. We're trying to update a lot of agreements over the last, I'd say, 5 or 6 years. And I thought, this is a not-for-profit, but it is a private not-for-profit, and it's on public lands. And I was just wondering if we were trying to clean up our, standardize our agreements or something, but apparently not in this case, so that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you. So we will call the vote then on Clause 2. And that carries. Clause 4. Well, Councillor Camden is stepping away. We will call the vote, please. And that carries. Clause 5. Approval of the Administrative Plan, City of Kingston Heritage Fund 2017-2018, and the appointment of councillors to participate in the City of Kingston Heritage Fund jury review process in September 2017. So we do require one councillor for the Project Grants Review Committee and one councillor for the Operating Grants Review Committee. Could I have two volunteers, please? Thank you. Councillor Sanik, did you have a preference for the project or operating grants?
Projects?
Okay. Councillor Neal?
What was the probable date for those meetings?
Mr. Wigginton?
Through you, Your Worship, the specific date hasn't been identified, but the Kingston Association of Museums is targeting October 2017, so we can try and make sure we get that information to you as soon as possible.
I will, as long as it doesn't interfere with my vacation, I will volunteer, as I've done in the past.
Thank you. So we will confirm and vote on clause number 5, appointing Councillor Osanik to the review committee for the project grants and Councillor Neal for the review committee for the operating grants. Please vote. And that carries. Clause number 8, Kingston Marina Land Use License and Parking Agreement, Douglas R. Fleur Park. Councillor Hutchison. Can you just put your mic on there?
Sorry.
Councillor Hutchison, thank you.
I'm just finding the page, that's all. I just wanted to thank staff and the stakeholders for this agreement. It took some negotiation. And what this is of course, is an agreement where there's a number of different stakeholders and interested parties, including Meadowcraft Marina, the marina that they operate, the owner, the general public, cultural considerations, and the federal government, because they have an adjacent water lot. It just goes on, and it gets more complicated all the time. And I have one question of staff that came up, also the fishermen. This is what this question is about. And Mr. Falwell knows all well that they are a stakeholder. It came up that, of course, there are going to be, this needed to be straightened out because parking was getting in the way of lots of things, and as the report alludes to, because the space is also used for cultural and heritage events, and if they're parking all over the place, it's difficult to carry out those different functions that are going on there. So it was raised whether we would consider another public boat launch someplace to facilitate the situation for fishermen. So I'm asking that question.
So Councillor Hutchison,
And whether that came up. Or,
does this relate directly to the parking agreement?
Yeah, it does, because the boat launching and recreational boating and all that is all part of what's going on here.
That's fine.
Right?
Mr. Folwell?
Through your worship, there is a boat launch attached to this agreement, and the public can use it. It is a pay-per-use. There are no plans currently to expand that use or make improvements to that boat launch at this time, but it will continue as such.
Thank you. I'll just also observe that there's been concerns with the parking and public access and so on for some years, actually. And so I think that this agreement, because it will standardize the parking and give Meadowcraft Marina the parking they need, but it will standardize the situation, how that parking is delivered and how it's paid for, and so should make it easier for the public to use this space, as well as taking care of all these different interests. So it's a good agreement in my view. Thank you.
Thank you. We will call the vote on Clause 8. And that carries. Report number 72 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Candon, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff, that report number 72 from the Chief Administrative Officer recommend be received and adopted clause by clause.
Okay, the first clause is review of council remuneration for the 2018 to 2022 term, creation of a citizen committee to review council remuneration. We will call the vote. Oh, Councillor Neal.
Just very quickly, I just wanted to note the names that have been put forward for filling those former councillor positions on the committee. I think it's an excellent list. Any of those people could do a superb job on this. I guess my only concern, and there really is no way to achieve this through an amendment, but I would find it awkward, just as we aren't part of this committee, because we potentially will benefit from whatever the recommendation is. I guess I'd find it awkward if we appointed a former councillor who became a future councillor and was voting on creating their own remuneration package. Now, it's an awkward situation because none of us should be forced into saying whether we're going to run or not at this early date. But I just wanted to publicly state that that would indeed be awkward if that were to happen. So, and I trust whoever accepts the position maybe will take that into account. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to pass the chair off for this, but I think I'll just note that given that any Kingston resident over the 18 years of age can run for office, anybody that sits on this committee would be in that same position, not just former councillors. Okay, so we will call the vote on Clause 1, please. And that carries. Clause 2, update of the Brownfields Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. There just seems to be a lot of items that affect my district tonight. Maybe they've been saving them up. Anyway, I have a couple of questions. In the report, it talks about, it recommends that council endorse a temporary hold on approval of new applications. I'm not sure, but maybe I missed it, but how long do we think that hold would be in place? Thought the CAO would be here, but he
Mr. McClatchy.
disappeared. Oh, there he is. Okay.
There we go, through you, Your Worship. We expect the process to wrap up in October of this year. So once it goes through Planning Committee and a 30-day appeal period, we expect that to wrap up in October.
Thank you. I guess this is more an observation. I've got it down as a question, but it's more an observation, is that it's quite clear that the brownfield program is working really quite well. If I read the figure 1 correctly, we paid out, but then we're realizing gross benefits going forward from at least a couple of years ago. We started to clear some money. Is that, am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Oh, see you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And just also to make sure I'm reading this correctly, and on page 147, it talks about reduce the total amount of tax rebate available to each brownfield project, and it's sort of spelled out why, total overall costs and so on. But exemptions are made for certain properties, including the Davis Tannery. And so I don't think that's a question. I think it's just straightforward. I just wanted to point out that I certainly approve of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Just very quickly, I agree with the previous speaker. This is an excellent program. And I have to say, Williamsville has benefited from being designated as an area for consideration for brownfields. However, and I've had this conversation with staff, there's a lot of sites in Williamsville that I like to call light brownfields, former gas stations that don't take the same amount of cleanup as, for instance, the tannery site may. So having a review of our policies, perhaps making it, and I'd agree with this, rather than regional, having it more site-specific. So anybody wanting to take what is basically going to be an abandoned vacant field or an abandoned property could, with different criteria, qualify to seek assistance and get that property as taxable, useful property again. I think that that would be really, really good, and that the tannery site clearly is one that should be site-specific. I'm not sure that others need to be. Perhaps Mr. McClatchy can speak to that.
Mr. McClatchy.
Through your worship, the reason we inserted the designation for strategic properties and have an exemption for them so that they could retain the current level of benefit, financial benefit, is because we recognize there are some site-specific properties that do have exceptionally large environmental liabilities, and they truly would need the full extent of the financial benefit to be feasible for redevelopment. So I think, to answer your question, that we believe that the proposed revision to the CIP will preserve that ability.
Thank you. I look forward to that.
Thank you. So you'll call the vote on Clause 2. And that carries. Clause 3, transmittal of report from the Interim Integrity Commissioner. Deputy Mayor Stroud.
I have here a letter that's marked confidential from the city solicitor. It came directly from the Integrity Commissioner. I'm going to read it now. June 8th, 2017, to the owners of the property concerned and to the citizens of Kingston. You are about to hear something you don't hear that often from a politician. I was wrong. Let me explain. Early this year, I agreed to do an on-camera interview on the subject of rental conversion additions in my district. I agreed to conduct this interview in front of a property you own, which was under renovations at the time. This was a mistake. During that interview, I made comments about irresponsible landlords. In an attempt to address a real problem in my area with blunt language, I went too far with my comments and insinuations and used words that could be considered insulting to you. Although I did not mention any names, I see now that having an identifiable building in the background was enough to give the false perception that I was describing you, the owners of that property. I am sorry. I would like to offer my full and unconditional apology to you, the owners of the building used in the news clips, to all of council, and also to anyone else who was offended by my comments in that news story. I ask that council forgive this breach of the code of conduct. I will submit to the penalty for this breach as they see fit, and I also strongly urge that others learn from this mistake in order to avoid similar missteps in the future. Again, I am truly sorry for this error on my part. Thank you. And it's signed by myself, and it was transmitted confidentially as well to the intended recipients. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I have read this report and have thought about it quite deeply because a lot of what started a desire for an interim control bylaw came from this. And I'm a counselor with 2 institutions of higher learning. And I have the top 3 in my district are traffic, communications, why didn't I know about something, and landlords, including Airbnb. And I try to behave in a rational, calm, thoughtful manner with my constituents. So I received a note recently. I know you didn't seem concerned with this Airbnb last summer while it was causing extreme disruption in our neighborhood. But I hope you see the value in trying to protect our neighborhoods from disruption, excessive garbage, etc. And I thought, boy, do we ever have a good example here of a councillor who gets passionate, winds up saying some things that he has to apologize in public for about an issue that is very similar to an issue that's come up in my district currently about Airbnb, but certainly Monster Homes came up just a few months ago. And I didn't seem concerned because I try to behave in a very rational, calm manner. Well, I was concerned, and staff know it. But this is the kind of horrible dilemma that councillors are in all the time. How much do I make a noise? How much do I push? How much do I step back and try to just behave so that I don't wind up with an integrity investigation? It's a terrible line that we're having to follow all the time. I did find the Integrity Commissioner's report contradictory, confusing, and it wound up involving landlords, neighbors who contradicted the story, staff of the City of Kingston that some of the comments I found very odd. I found hard to believe that staff would have said, and we wound up with our news reporters saying that it wasn't correct, that what Ms. Leeper said wasn't correct. So I just can't support receiving this report for many reasons, particularly in terms of the report being very confusing and contradictory and members of the public contradicting it, and also because it's tough being a councillor, and we have to be so careful how we react to citizens, and citizens can wind up angry at us for being not pushy enough or too pushy. So, And I suspect the Integrity Commissioner and codes of conduct complaints like this are just going to continue. So I feel like making a stand on this one because I find that report way too complicated, confusing. It read a bit like a police report in the beginning to me. And I recognize what Councillor Stroud has done, and I appreciate it very much. But I won't be agreeing to receive the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stroud, will you take the chair?
I take the chair, Your Worship, and you have the floor.
So I just want to make one comment very clear here. All that we are doing is receiving the report. We are not confirming it. We are not debating whether we like it or don't like it, what we think we agree with or don't we agree with. To be honest, I don't think that that's an appropriate discussion to have. We are simply receiving the report from the Integrity Commissioner. We have already received the apology from Deputy Mayor Stroud. I would just implore Council to receive it and let's move on. Let's turn the page and let's move on. Thank you.
And I return the chair.
Thank you. Councillor Candon.
Thank you, and through you. Just a quick question for staff. Do we know how much this report cost Kingston taxpayers?
Mr. Clerk.
To Your Worship, thank you for the question. We don't have that information at the present time, but I can commit to provide it as soon as I can receive it from Ms. Leeper.
Okay. And is there an appropriate time where we can discuss the legitimacy of our legal dealings and issues that we may have with that, where we can discuss these in an open forum, if this isn't the appropriate forum?
To Your Worship, I can confirm that we're in the process of appointing or reviewing some documentation to appoint a new Integrity Commissioner, and probably in the third quarter. The report before you, which is really what we should be talking about, as the Mayor indicated, was receiving the report. There isn't anything really to debate. This is the investigation and the outcome that came out of the investigation. So, as the Mayor said, it's just here for Council's receipt. And to be quite honest with you, you received the report. So to vote that you're not going to receive it doesn't really hold water in that sense. The report was received by all members of Council.
Would it be accurate to say that this is a complete waste of time then?
To Your Worship, I strongly disagree with that comment. There is a process that we have in place. It's legislated. The process was followed. The investigation was carried through. We're entitled to get a report from the Integrity Commissioner, which we received, and we're required to present it to Council. That was followed.
Thank you. We will call the vote, please. And that carries by a vote of 10-2. Report number 73 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 73 from the Planning Committee for Council's consideration. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Neal, that report number 73 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
There is just the one clause, approval of an application for a zoning bylaw amendment, 538 O'Connor Drive. We will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 74 from Heritage Kingston.
Thank you, Your Worship. I rise to present the report, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Schell. It has a number of heritage applications for Council's consideration.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Schell, that report number 74 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
So there are a number of clauses under both, number one, approval of applications recommended for approval statutory consultation, and number two, non-statutory consultation. Would anyone like any of them separated? Deputy Mayor Stroud?
2, please.
So is that?
Item 1, number Roman
2?
numeral 2, the Heritage Kingston report.
Report card? Okay, so what we will do is we will approve, or we will call the vote on everything in the Heritage Kingston report except for item 2 under clause 1. Please vote. And that carries. Okay, under number 1, item 1 under clause, item 2 rather, under clause 1, the 2016 Heritage Kingston report card. Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is mandated for committees from the committee bylaw. There's an annual report from the advisory committees that comes to council. That's what this is. It's got my name on it, so I just wanted to explain its context. And I had one question for either the CAO or the commissioner, because I'm getting this question from members of the committee, and I don't know what the answer is. This is the annual report as mandated by the terms of reference for the committee bylaw. I guess that's a procedural question the clerk could probably confirm. It will come again next year at this time. The question I'm getting from members of the committee is, in the transition team report that was passed by council a year ago, slightly over a year ago, it made mention of a review of the procedures of the new committee, because as you recall, Heritage Kingston is a brand new committee that started in April of 2016. So the question is that review that's mentioned in the transition team report back a year and 2 months ago, is that something else than this annual report?
Mr. Clerk.
Through your worship, the transition team report made a number of recommendations. We've implemented those recommendations, and we're trying to see where we go from here. As you can probably attest to, the changes that we made with respect to how we process the number of applications has gone rather smoothly. So we continue to evaluate how our procedures are working all the time. We don't foresee any substantive changes at this time.
Okay, so I take from that answer that the review of procedures is always ongoing with all committees, and that's the responsibility of the clerk's office, I take it.
It's a joint responsibility with the committees to ensure that we have the proper procedures in place. As I indicated previously, at least for the public's knowledge as well, with the strong assistance from the chair, we've been able to really move mountains with respect to this particular committee in the recent past.
Okay, and thank you. The council's indulgence as I clarify that. This item, I will be asking for your support. It's the annual report, and I support the clerk's work in the ongoing monitoring of the functioning of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote. And that carries. Okay, we have nothing under Committee of the Whole. We have a number of information reports. If you have any questions, as I go through them, just raise your hand. Number 1, progress update on corporate climate action planning. Number 2, Y2K Kingston Youth Strategy. Number 3, 2017 Child Care Provincial Funding Allocation and new 100,000 Spaces Provincial Initiative. Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a question. The report doesn't mention, well, I guess the funding announcement is pretty specific in terms of targeting vulnerable populations specifically. It's not just to create more spaces across the whole, but the spaces that are targeted to families who need them or need support. And one category has to do with offering childcare for people who work shift work and have extended hours into the evenings, etc. So I'm just curious if the report doesn't reference any providers of that type of service in the area, and I'm just curious if that's something that we're able to facilitate through this process.
Mr. Laidman?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, that is one of the aspects of the funding proposal that's on our radar for sure. Increasing access to childcare is one of the criteria, and certainly the expectation that access can mean additional hours of operation and availability of childcare. So we are meeting with the childcare providers, the licensed childcare providers, to determine if they have the capacity to add hours of operation to their services as one option that we're considering.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, number 4, Ontario Early Years Child and Family Centre update. Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so this one, I was happy to see in the addeds that there's an extension. And so I guess not really much need to be alarmed at this point, but the providers that are referenced here, I don't have well, there are a number of them anyway, 4 of them, including school boards. So this has to do with not just childcare, but actual programs for early years. And as this process continues to roll out, the transition, I suppose, where are we at in sort of identifying the ability to maintain unique programming, something like Better Beginnings, in particular the program that facilitates on-site or drop-in home visits. Is our role here, do we have any role to sort of ensure that within this framework that's being proposed by the provincial government, that the individual or sort of precise needs of various communities are going to be met? Like, do we have a lobbying ability? I guess that's sort of what I'm getting at.
Mr. Laidman?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly that's the first step in what we're undertaking right now. As a service manager for this new programming and responsibilities, we are undertaking a needs assessment through the consultant that's been hired. We have been surveying parents, providers, service agencies, the Indigenous community, Francophone community, all various stakeholders to determine what the needs are in the community. That's the first step. Now that we know our allocation, the consultant will be trying to put our needs along with the funding allocation that we have available and putting those two things together to determine how much programming we need, what types of programming we need to offer in the city and the county, and who will be offering those services. So that's where we are right now. We will have a full plan brought back to council, identifying what those needs are and identifying a means by which we'll be implementing that with the community and a means by which who will be implementing those programs with as well.
Thanks. I guess just to clarify then, so even though there's sort of a template that's being provided here, it's still kind of a local service agreement that will be the end product. Is that what you're suggesting?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly that's the expectation of the province, that by moving this responsibility to the service manager, that we will be able to make local decisions as to what is best for Kingston and Frontenac for early years learning and childcare.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 5, Kingston Rugby update. Number 6, tender and contract awards subject to the established criteria for delegation of authority for the month of April 2017. Okay, moving on to miscellaneous business. We have several motions of council. Number 1, that the resignation of Anne Blake from the Heritage Kingston Cultural Heritage Working Group be received with regret. Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Bohm. Please vote. And that carries. Number 2, that the resignation of Rick Stratton from the Bell Park Working Group be received with regret. Moved by Councillor Holland, seconded by Councillor Osanik. And that carries. Number 3, that the resignation of David Jeffries from the Portsmouth Visioning Working Group be received with regret. Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Bohm. Please vote. And that carries. Number 4, that the resignation of Glenn Perry from the Committee of Adjustment be received with regret. Moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Please vote. And that carries. On to new motions. New motion number 1, moved by Councillor Bohm, seconded by Councillor Candon. Whereas many members of the public have raised concerns with the spread of Lyme disease, and whereas the city believes that it is important to create awareness to increase public health and safety, therefore be it resolved that Council requests the Communications and Customer Experience Department work with the Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington Public Health to increase public awareness related to Lyme disease. Councillor Bohm.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, the whole intent of this was essentially just to help raise public awareness about this disease. It's basically the tick population is in full bloom now, and the risks are real, and it's just something that take the time to read up on it, because if you grew up in the country now, it's not even just in the country. In the country, this was something you just lived with. You just knew every day to kind of check for ticks, and now there's people in suburbia and urban backyards that their kids are coming in with ticks all over them, and their dogs are having 30 or 40 picked off by the vet. So unfortunately, the ticks are increasing in population and seem to be everywhere now. So the whole intent of this was basically just to make the public more aware of a real risk that's out there. So hopefully everybody supports it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. His Worship, Dennis Doyle, Chair of Public Health, asked me to say a few words on this in support of this particular motion. Public Health has been working on this and has been ahead of the curve in many ways, and welcomes any and all partnerships and any additional resources to help spread awareness on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I fully support this. First of all, I like how succinct and brief the motion is. Excellent. It's probably our most to-the-point motion we've had all year. Yes, I was on public health, and we have talked about Lyme disease, and one thing I remember from those talks, from the presentations of public health, is that Kingston, Eastern Ontario, rural areas were amongst the world leaders in Lyme disease, of reported cases of Lyme disease. This is a curve, an epidemic curve that's on the upswing exponentially. So it is quite frightening when you see the actual numbers about reported cases, starting 10 years ago, 1 or 2, to hundreds now. And as far as it being, it is a problem commonly known in the rural areas. I know Councillor Osterhoff must know all about this as well. But it also happens in downtown Kingston. I myself, believe it or not, got a tick last year that I noticed in a meeting with the Director of Planning. And I don't know if it was her or I, but one of us kind of half screamed when I found the tick. So, and I had to go down straight over to Hotel Dieu Hospital at her insistence that I don't put it off, and they gave me antibiotics. And if you don't remove a tick properly, of course, you're in big trouble. So that's the public awareness you're talking about there, the proper way to remove a tick, the seeking the medical attention, screening your pets and your kids for the ticks when they come in from outside. And it's everybody in the city, not just on the outskirts, but that's definitely the highest risk area. So thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote on new motion number 1. Please vote. And that carries. For new motion number 2, I will ask the Deputy Mayor to take the chair, please.
I take the chair, and I also believe I need to read the motion. Yes, get it right this time. So moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Holland. Whereas Council approved on Council approved on March 7th, 2017, the receipt of a grant toward the renovation of Breakwater Park from Swim, Drink, Fish Canada, Lake Ontario Waterkeeper, for $500,000 that will be recognized as part of the grand opening ceremony for the project, and as well through on-site signage for a 10-year period once the project has been completed. And whereas Gord Downey, as both a supporter and a board member of Swim, Drink, Fish Canada, Lake Ontario Waterkeeper, has used his music and his profile to champion the stewardship of Lake Ontario to ensure its natural integrity is preserved. And whereas Council recognizes that providing public access to water is vital to fostering the public's connection to water and its protection for future generations, and has committed to making improvements to Breakwater Park in ways that align with Gord Downey's vision for Lake Ontario. And whereas Gord Downey's ties to Kingston continue to be strong, and his efforts have brought national and international attention to this community, therefore be it resolved that the former Public Utilities Commission dock, located next to Breakwater Park and south of the King Street Water Treatment Facility, be named Gordon Edgar Downey Pier, and that recognition of the name be installed on the site in a manner consistent with the approved park signage program to coincide with the official reopening of Breakwater Park once the current project has been completed. Your Worship, you have the chair, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. A number of weeks ago, representatives from the Lake Ontario Waterkeeper organization reached out to me with what I thought was a tremendous idea. So as the motion has described, of course, Lake Ontario Waterkeeper was the organization that gave the city $500,000 grant that was instrumental in helping us to accelerate this important project to renovate and revitalize Breakwater Park. So the idea, and they were very clear with me that there were no strings attached to that grant, but they came forward with an idea that I thought was great, and that idea was to look at something within Breakwater Park that we could rename in recognition of one of their board members, one of their biggest supporters, and somebody, of course, that has tremendous ties to Kingston, that being Gord Downey. So we had some discussions with staff, and it became clear that we thought the best idea would be to rename the existing PUC dock. For a couple of reasons. First of all, because the renovation of Breakwater Park in that particular area is really to envision that as a swimming area that's very accessible to families, to people of all ages, to be able to access and to enjoy the water. And that's really the vision of Lake Ontario Waterkeeper, that's the vision of Gord Downey, and of course that's our vision as council, is to be able to improve that accessibility. So this would be a naming that I think would really be, on the one hand, to be able to honor and recognize the tremendous contributions to our community that Gord Downey has provided, but also to be able to speak to that larger vision of what this park is all about. So the name initially that we'd come up with was that we would call it Gordon Edgar Downey Pier. I did actually hear back last week that there was a change of preference from Gord, that he would actually prefer, if we are okay with this, to call it Gord Edgar Downey Pier. So if, Mr. Clerk, could I propose that as a friendly amendment?
Through your worship, we'll accept that.
So there's been 2 letters stricken from the be it resolved clause, the ON at the end of Gordon. Go ahead.
Great, thank you very much. So this would then see the PUC dock renamed as Gord Edgar Downey Pier. And I believe Gord Downey received the Order of Canada just, I believe, yesterday. So this would be another honor, but I think something that is certainly something that would be valued and treasured by him, and I think something that certainly would be treasured by the community as well. So I certainly hope that council can support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would anyone else like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Your Worship, and you have the chair back.
Thank you very much. Moving on to new motion number 3, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Mayor Patterson. Whereas June 20th is recognized annually as World Refugee Day, endorsed by the UN and celebrated around the world, And whereas Kingston is a community that welcomes all new Canadians, therefore be resolved, the Kingston Council fully endorses and embraces World Refugee Day. Okay, so we will call the vote. And that carries. So we have no further new motions. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Boehm, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2017-15 held Tuesday, June the 6th, 2017 be confirmed.
Please vote. And that carries. We have some tabling of documents, a number of communications. Is there any other business? Okay, Mr. Clerk, I will ask for bylaws, please.
We have five bylaw votes tonight. Councillor Candon, you're excused for the first two, please. Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaw 5 be given its first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaw 5 be given its third reading. Two more, please.
And that carries.
Moved by Councillor Candon, you may return. Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaws 1 through 4 and 10 be given their first and second reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Neal, that clause 11.34 of bylaw number 2010-1 be suspended for the purpose of giving bylaws 3 and 4 3 readings.
Please vote. That carries.
Moved by Councillor McLaren, seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaws 3, 4, and 7 through 10 be given their third reading.
Please vote. And that carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Boehm, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you very much.